Tricky conditions, but a clean start, and just hear the sound as the stroke rate increases. The goal is to get it from 0 speed to maximum speed in the shortest possible time, the most intense part of the race, and the nerves are jangling at the start, but they're now easing out as the crews are into that rhythm, stretching out for length. We're riding here with London, looking quite strong and loose early on. It's a good look to have as you're accelerating through the first part of the course, Greg.
Yeah, and as you say, really coming out to length. You can really see the compression in this London Rowing Club over the side view, just how close the seat is getting to the ankles, just that there's no space there between the bodies and the thighs, sitting quite upright in the London boat, as opposed to the crew of the Upper Thames on the near side. For me, not quite getting quite so long forward. Whether that will make any difference, let's see.
Yeah, pretty much neck and neck. Looks like London have got a little bit of a lead at this early stage of the race, just about 350 metres into the race. Now we're looking there at the Upper Thames crew, as you say, a little bit stronger, a little bit longer. Now in the 7th seat with a headband, you can see a young man, Cal Gorby, whose 18th birthday it is today.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Did you see him making the calls, shouting, come on, come on, the enthusiasm of youth.
Yeah, well, he's also the son of Gail and Sean Gorby. Sean, a British lightweight and Cambridge Goldie rower of many years' repute, and also runs the Crabtree Boathouse. So a big birthday day for him. But they've got their work cut out, and that experience and maturity from other members of the crew. In the crew as well, he's got the bowman, Michael Scott, another day at the office for him at 43 years of age, 25 years between them. And the experience and youth at the moment are struggling to overturn the strength of London Rowing Club on the far side.
Yeah, well, the Upper Thames crew now really need to dig in. I think try and hold this overlap as they're coming towards the barrier as we have a look. But London Rowing Club now, it's this is that sort of moment where you want to kind of break contact, isn't it? Make sure you create some clear water and try not to give them any sort of whiff of a chance they might come back.
Exactly. There's a tension between sort of striding out to an efficient rhythm versus trying to kill off the race early, and that's something we often see at this very stage. And you can see now, looking ahead of the crews, how that wind's coming in, making the water a little bit more tricky. I think the conditions here are not the easiest. There's quite a lot of water coming down the river as well, and we've seen that in some of the steering today, and you can see that now as we look across at London on the right, just straying towards the centre of the river, the watchful eye of the umpire. The flag stays in the bag at the moment as the London crew moves slightly across again, but they're starting to get to clear water.
Yeah, they're really desperate for that bit of clear water, but like you say, it's difficult tactically as we have a look here with the Upper Thames crew. That's Martin, Matt in the stroke seat, really trying to keep the crew in, really trying to hang on. And, you know, if you're going to go, you've got to go now to keep this overlap and really keep this tight.
Yeah, there's a moment in every race where if you are behind that you know that it's time for the kitchen sink, and that often comes when you can still feel some overlap. And I think that Upper Thames, here on their home stretch as they approach their own clubhouse, they really have their work cut out now. London looking like they're settling into a more relaxed rhythm, and I think you called it on the technical contrast between the two crews as well, Greg. They're just getting hold of it a bit more efficiently at the front of the stroke, which means they've got a longer effective stroke.
Well, like you say, it was about the length, isn't it? And so what you've got with London is not only are they sliding long, but they're looking to try and get connected long as well. It's all well and good sliding all the way up and sliding all the way back. The blades have got to go into the water and get connected. And yeah, so the London club getting up there as long as they can, trying to get locked onto the water. The headwind probably makes it easier to get locked on, makes it easier to feel like you're locked into the water, and then you can really just spend that little bit longer actually moving the boat past the blades, so they can really have that feeling of moving the boat along, and maybe it's that small bit of difference that's paying out for them here.
Yeah, the London crew's more, I think probably more experienced in total, although I noticed between the two crews, they've got a total of 26 Henley appearances in each boat. So they're kind of evenly matched from that perspective. But London, a crew that's come together from normal first 8 rowers plus a 4 that's been really strong throughout the season. And we can see in the middle of the boat there for London, the 4 seat just in front of the green hat is Rhys Zhu, a Canadian lightweight indoor rowing champion with a 6:08 2K score, we're told, which is a pretty impressive score for a lightweight. And you know, there's something about power and there's something about weight in this sport. So sometimes the big guys with the big ergo scores, a bit more drag in the boat, a bit more weight in the boat. So a light guy with a good score is really an asset, and it's quite unusual for a lightweight to be in the 4 seat.
Yeah, 6:08 is a good score for anybody, but to be doing it when you're down close to 11 stone, 72 kilos, very impressive. And as you say, power to weight ratio is everything, because of course you've got to carry the boat, the cocks, and yourself down the course. We're having a look now with Upper Thames.
Yeah, well, I think we can see the contrast on the faces there, the pain of being down, and they really have had to throw everything they can at the race in order to see if they can stay on terms. We can see there 3:23 to the falling mark, so no records falling today. A little bit of a breeze still ahead of them. See that in the fluttering flags around the crews. London now trying to make this more comfortable and start to think about conservation and preservation of energy for the days ahead in the Thames Cup.
Yeah, I mean, it's managing their way through the regatta, isn't it? And they really do look smooth. What a great picture of rowing. And actually, they look really nice, don't they? In terms of those arcs.
Yeah.
The arcs of the blade, 8 of them moving really well together.
I was just going to say, you can see here what you were talking about, Greg, of kind of effective length. So the full extent of the arc, and the oar goes into the water right at the full extent of the arc, not missing too much, which means you've got an extra few inches of connection to push the boat along. And rowing's actually a push sport. You know, we describe it often as pulling the oar, but actually you're pushing the boat away from you all the time, and that's what they're doing really nicely here. Stroke rates come down to something much more comfortable. Upper Thames, I'm afraid, the challenge is pretty much done for them. A valiant effort to try to get on terms with London on their home stretch, but they're approaching now the mile and the 8th signal with a couple of lengths of clear water between the crews.
Yeah, there are a couple of lengths there, and I'm just thinking about Heather Scott. We saw her there in the coxing seat for the London Rowing Club. She's an experienced coxing in New Zealand, one of her highlights, as well as coaching coxing in the Windermere Cup in Washington for Otago University. So assuming she's from New Zealand, happily over here, putting her skills to good use, managing the crew through the regatta here, and yeah, just getting them to just manage themselves, keep it under control, enjoy going past this progress board and the crowd as they're coming in towards the finish line.
Yeah, lovely display from London, looking to be the fastest London Rowing Club crew yet. We haven't seen their full speed through the course, but they're certainly pretty nifty off the blocks, and I think in that sort of 200, 300 metres in, they made a fairly decisive move that allowed them to start to break through the Thames winning pattern. So London Rowing Club through the line, winning this first round of the Thames Cup over Upper Thames Rowing Club, just crossing the line now.